Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. This is Shot Science Overtime number 140. We're going to do what we do most every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific time when we do our live shows, and that is that we're going to give you guys a topic that we think is going to help you develop your game, make you a better player, or maybe alleviate some of your concerns, which is the case today, with some aspect of your game or your physical attributes or something. And while we're doing that, you guys are going to send us your comments and questions in the chat, and we will jump into those after our topic and try to answer as many questions as we can, kind of from our experience and coaches and the coaches experience as well. And so just send us those questions. Make sure you're following us on all our social media stuff. We're Shot Science everywhere. It's Facebook, Google Plus, Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We're on Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it is. We are Shot Science, and we'd love to hear from you guys during the week and whatever. So send us your questions and stuff there too. Okay, so remember to keep in mind that this is one of our longer form type of shows. We're going to be here for an hour talking to you guys. If this is not exactly what you want to be watching or participating in, that's cool. Go watch our short tutorials, and we have several hundred of them on our YouTube channel. But we're going to do this live show for the people that want their questions answered. All right. So today's topic is I have small hands, and we get this almost every day. Somebody is asking about this, and they're saying that they're worried about either they're not tall enough, or they're slow, or their hands are too small, and blah blah blah. And we feel like we keep reiterating the same things. And number one is that it doesn't matter how big your hands are. Everybody can play basketball, despite these perceived physical limitations. We've worked with people that have extremely tiny hands because they are 7 or 8 years old, and they are able to do just fine with that.
Right.
And so many people are concerned with being able to palm a basketball. They think that as soon as they're able to do that, it's going to solve a bunch of problems. Like their shot is going to start going in. They're going to be able to dribble the ball better. They're going to be able to dunk or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And we are here to tell you that that is not what happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Not necessary in any way.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about having small hands is that, sure, maybe you don't have the kind of control that somebody like Kawhi Leonard or Giannis Antetokounmpo has or something like that, because they have these giant hands, but you will do just fine. The basketball is round, and so you are going to be able to get a grip on it despite how big your hands are. Right. And we see kids that are super young that are able to use even regulation size men's basketball and do just fine with being able to shoot, being able to dribble, and of course not being able to dunk, but just being able to control the basketball. And that's really what it's all about. And it is a falsehood to believe that as soon as you're able to palm a basketball, or if you just had bigger hands, that things would be easier for you.
Yeah, truly.
Because when it comes to developing your skills, it all comes down to putting in the work and actually working on skills, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oftentimes what happens is that this is something that I think probably comes about more when you get into the teenage years, where you start to worry about the fact that you've got small hands. Hey, I would be willing to bet you that Muggsy Bogues and players like that who played in the NBA, their hands were not huge, but they did really fine. And so that's it's probably something that is not really worth spending any time worrying about. It is what it is. And you just take and learn to use those hands. And, there's no question about it that if you've got huge hands, you're going to have a little better control and whatnot of basketball.
If you hold it right.
Yeah, but even so, players who have smaller hands do a great job with the basketball as well. So it's something that probably is not worth even worrying about as far as the player is concerned. Something we forgot to mention is people checking in with us. Where are they from?
Well, we'll ask that at the end here.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the thing about it is that it's an excuse.
Yeah.
And people use it as an excuse. Like if my hands were a little bit bigger, then I'd definitely be an NBA player or something like that, or I'd definitely shoot this much better from the 3-point range or whatever.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that that is not true. And if you believe that, I think that you're kind of fooling yourself.
Yeah, you are.
And, people just need to, accept the fact that the body that you are given is what you got to work with.
Exactly.
Muggsy Bogues, like you mentioned earlier, he was not sitting around whining and complaining the fact that he was a foot shorter than basically everybody that he was playing against, at least, if not 2 feet shorter.
Yeah.
He was 5'3", and he was able to get to the highest level of basketball and stay there for a long time and be a great player.
Yeah.
And, he wasn't sitting there. Well, maybe he had a few moments of thinking, I wish I was taller or whatever, but who cares? He knew that he had what he was working with, and that's all he could do. You can't change your genetics. You can't change your height. You can't change your body size or anything like that in terms of like making your hands bigger or something.
Exactly.
And so why spend any time worrying about that stuff? You can't suddenly make your hands bigger. And you can make yourself a better shooter. You can make yourself a better ball handler. And so you need to focus more on the things that you can change than the things that you can't change. And, I think that this probably arises mostly out of the fact that you go and look at the guys that play in the NBA. They're all, not all of them, but most all of them are giant guys. And so people look at that and they're like, well, I have to be a giant guy, or I have to have giant hands like so-and-so. Yeah. Or if my hands were bigger, I'd be able to reach higher, or whatever it is. And it's like you have to look at yourself not as compared to an NBA player, because that is the absolute top of the crop.
Yeah.
And those guys are not only super skilled basketball players, but they are also freaks of human nature, because they're 6'9", and they can run and jump way better and higher and faster than you can at the normal size of a human being. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you've got 7-footers that can run the floor. They can shoot 3-pointers. They're doing all the things that classically you would think that a 7-footer would just stumble over their feet doing.
Yeah.
And so you cannot compare yourself to people like that. You need to look at the fact that there are great players at every level of basketball that are literally normal-sized human beings doing amazing things, that are amazing shooters, and they are not going to have these giant NBA-sized hands.
Right.
And you just got to deal with it. And here's the other thing, too, is that, me, and I'm sure you have been able to for a long time, too, and my brothers, like, we all had pretty big hands growing up. And being able to palm a basketball since we were young teenagers, like 12 or 13 years old. And I can almost tell you with certainty that it has never been essential to palm a basketball ever in a basketball game.
No.
Like, you don't do it when you go up for a layup. You don't do it when you're shooting. You don't do it when you're dribbling, because you'll get called for a travel. And so people, seem to think that it's some magic cure, but it's like you barely ever use it.
Yeah.
I mean, the only time you ever really see a palm basketball is when Michael Jordan is doing his thing where he's keeping the ball away from the guy, and that's almost kind of just a confidence in showing off and stuff. It's not an essential part of basketball.
No.
If you're palming the basketball while you're shooting, you're going to be adding tension to your wrist and to your forearm, and that's not what you want. You want to have control of the basketball with a loose grip. And, the ball, if I pull it, it's going to fall out. But if I'm holding it in my hand, it's not going to go anywhere because I have that loose grip. If I'm palming it again, here it is, I can't pull it out, but then it just tense, and that's not what you want. And if you're going up for a layup, typically you're going to have your hand underneath the ball like this, and it's going to be able to control it like that. And even if you go up top, you still have your wrist is under the ball, giving you that support.
Right.
And if you're dribbling, of course, you'll get called for traveling if you're palming it.
Yeah.
And so it's not essential, and it will not take you to the next level.
No.
Right?
No. And, just controlling of the basketball when you're passing or dribbling the basketball is not limited very much by the fact that you have smaller hands. I mean, people learn how to deal with that. And so, it's a whole lot of worry about something that doesn't really matter that much. Okay, and so don't let it be something that holds you back.
Yeah, and typically we see it as an excuse.
Yeah.
And younger players typically do it. It's people that want to be able to do something, but maybe haven't put in the work or don't want to put in the work. And we're here to tell you, if you are just barely not able to dunk and you think that it's holding you back because you're not able to palm the basketball, that is not the case. Work on your athleticism. That will help you get that ability to dunk. If you're worried about it in terms of your shooting, like we said, that's not part of being able to control the basketball. That's just going to add tension if you're palming the basketball.
Right.
And like we said, we see people with all size hands being able to do all these amazing things. We've seen guys that can't palm a basketball dunk it better than most people on the planet, and it's just because of their athleticism.
Exactly.
So we're here to say, forget about the things that you can't change, because you can't do anything about it. You can't eat something and make your hands grow. You can't eat something and make yourself grow taller. You can't drink stuff. I mean, it is literally, this is what you get. And that's fine. And just use it to the best of your abilities. And if there's something that you want to develop or that isn't quite where you want it to be, then work on it. Right?
I would agree with that totally, yeah. Let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. And get busy on the things that really matter, like your ball skills and shooting and that sort of thing. Smaller hands,
yeah,
whatever.
Okay, so I think that's kind of driving into the ground, but we just want to make sure that you guys know that that's kind of the way it is.
Yeah.
And I know that you can sit there and you can tell yourself a lot of things, and sometimes you're kind of worried to ask people if this is something that might be holding you back, and we're here to tell you it is not.
It is not.
What's holding you back is the fact that you just got to get out there and do the work. All right, so we're going to stop talking on that topic right there. Hopefully, if you guys have more questions on it, just let us know and we'll get back to you and talk some more about it. But we're going to jump out of our topic for today and jump into answering your guys' questions. And first question that we like to ask you guys is, where are you guys from? Tell us what country you're from, because it's cool for us here in California to know where you guys are in the world. And also, if you guys could, go follow us on all our social media stuff. We're Shot Science and everything: Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Google+, Twitter, whatever. We are Shot Science, okay? So let us know where you're from, and right now we're going to jump into your topics and questions. Okay, let's go scroll up a little bit. Jeff Nuts is asking us, can you guys do a diet video? Well, we might do something on nutrition or something like that. That's something that we've talked about before. Stay tuned and we'll see if we can do something like that. Let's see. This one's from Alexander Torres, who says, how do you gain confidence on the court?
Confidence on the court really comes from just one single thing. Well, not one single thing, but principally comes from developing your skills to a higher level. Whenever you develop your skills to a high level and you trust those skills, then you begin to become more confident in using those in a game situation. So it all centered around just how good you become with your skills, and that will help you alleviate the problems of concern about,
Well, if you have confidence in your skills, you'll have confidence in your execution.
Yeah, exactly.
And, that's what you want to have when you step out on the court, is you want to feel like it's going to be there when you need it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, that's when the confidence starts to kind of waver.
It does start to wane.
Okay, here's one from Marin Bandalo, who says, can you get a scholarship only playing AAU?
That's a good question. It seems like in the recent decades, the last 20 years or so, that most of the recruiting on the college level has come out of AAU or travel basketball. Not all the travel basketball is AAU basketball. Some of it are just unaffiliated travel teams, and those seem to be the sources of where people are recruited from. And so I wouldn't say it was just all AAU. But if you want to be seen, what you need to do is to get on one of these types of travel teams, and hopefully your coaches will take you to tournaments where college coaches can attend.
Showcases.
Showcases. And we've done a little bit on some of this in the past, and that is that I've seen players who played on teams and they were pretty good players and possibly could have been recruited, but their coaches took them to tournaments where the college coaches were not allowed to attend. And there are certain recruiting periods where college coaches and certain tournaments where college coaches can and cannot go. So you need to find out what they do in that regard, because you could go play 20, 30 games and a college coach never sees you play.
Yeah, and you have to do your research when it comes to this stuff, because a coach or one of their recruiters might be telling you something that might not necessarily align with the truth.
Yep.
Because they want you to come play, or they want to get money or whatever. And so you need to find a coach or a team that is really focused on your individual development and betterment, and go find some resources. Ask them for some maybe testimonials or people they can reach, or that you can reach out to that have worked with them in the past, that can kind of stand up for what they're telling you. And if you can find people on your own, that's even better, because you can find out if they're telling the truth. And you just want to get yourself into the right position to be showcased and or develop your individual skills, because there's a lot of people out there that are trying to take advantage, and you don't want to get caught up in that situation. But it's also a little strange if you're not playing for your school team too.
Yeah,
most of the time people do.
Yeah, they do, and they use the travel team in the spring and summer to be able to get out to tournaments and to be seen. So that is a little strange, as Casey mentioned.
Yeah, one thing to do is you have to have a realistic expectation of yourself and realistic evaluation of who you are as a player and where you could potentially play. A lot of people just seem to think that they are much better than they actually are, and that they should, maybe they're Division III quality or level player, or junior college level player, and they think they should be playing Division I, and it's like, well, you're not really that level player. You have to have a realistic kind of evaluation of yourself.
Yeah, you do.
And that's hard to do, but you gotta be able to do it.
Yeah, and sometimes we find that there are parents who are involved who kind of pump up their sons or daughters or whatnot as being, their capabilities and where they ought to be playing, and that they should be playing Division I basketball. The competition and the level of skill at Division I basketball, men's or women's, is really, really good. And that's why you find that a lot of those people don't really go on to those levels, because they were probably more fit for Division II, Division III, NAIA 1 and 2. So there's pretty much, if you're a reasonably good player, there's pretty much a place where you can play on the college level.
Yeah, you see it all the time, and I know people, and people where they maybe they do play up, they get lucky enough to play up, but then they don't play. They sit. They're basically practice squad bench warmers.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of you could say you could play Division I basketball, but you also don't get to play.
Yeah.
So if you really want to play, maybe you should play down to a lower level, and you have to have. That's why I'm saying have realistic expectations, and also you got to know what you want too.
Yeah. One of my sons was being recruited by a couple of Division I teams, and one of the things that and junior college teams and things like that. But one of the things that he kind of determined was is that he didn't want to go to a Division I team where he might sit for the first 2 years and not get a chance to play very much. And so he decided to go on a Division III team where he was a starter from the day one until the last day that he was there. And he wanted that to be a part of his experience, not just to go and sit and watch somebody else play for a while.
And he also wanted to set himself up for after basketball was done, so that he had an education, he had he had networked and all that stuff too.
Exactly.
So you have to be smart. You got to cover your bases.
Yeah.
And we tell we tell you guys all the time, is that getting into the NBA, you could be a great player. You could even be an all-star level NBA player, and you still might not get there.
That's right.
It depends on a lot of luck, and it depends on being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and the turnover is not that huge either, from one year to the next. And so some of those people that are on those teams might be there for 10 or 15 years.
Or you get injured.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a long list of great players that, they are no longer. I mean, they never had an NBA career.
Right. And, there's a lot of really good players in the D League.
Yeah.
And once you get out and kind of
Well,
see
they're
some
all,
of those.
they're all NBA level players.
Yeah, they are. But they just haven't made their jump yet. And maybe they never will. But, you don't know that until you get out and put your feet in the water.
Okay, we got people telling us where they're from. We got Anthony Reed from the UK, Chris Harrops from England, Matthew is from Canada, Jeff Nuts from Toronto. We have Jerry Rez, who's from England. We have somebody from Germany with an interesting username.
Mm-hmm.
We have somebody from Chicago, but born in Croatia. That's Marin. Some more people from California, Poland, Spain, Istanbul, Prince Edward Island, Pennsylvania, Germany. Cool. Awesome to see you guys.
That's great to have you here.
Yeah. So if you're from those places, go tell your friends and family to check out Shot Science Basketball, because we'd love to have more people from wherever you are on our team. Okay, so let's get back to more questions. This one is from Robert Stark, who asked, should I spend time working on athleticism or spend all my time on skills?
Well, spending time on athleticism is kind of an interesting area. I don't know Casey's thoughts on this, but athleticism seems to be something that people are just kind of innately born with. You can improve your skills and your abilities doing certain kinds of exercise, but you either are athletic or you are not very athletic, and there are grades in between. But it's not something that I feel like you can become more athletic because you put effort into it.
Well, yeah, you do.
I don't really believe it.
Yeah, you do, because we work on athleticism and functional stuff all the time, and that's kind of what the
functional stuff. Yes,
but
athleticism.
But you can make yourself quicker. You can make yourself faster. You can make yourself jump higher, have better explosion laterally.
Yeah,
I mean that's developing athleticism.
Okay.
I mean, of course, everybody's born with kind of a certain set point.
Yep.
Most normal people are, here, and then professional athletes are typically going to be up here, and they're, a lot of that is natural.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
But you can develop your athleticism.
You can improve it some, but I don't think you can. You can't become this super athletic person just because you work at it. You can improve it, but it's not going to make you a super athletic person.
Well, I mean, I think we're talking about something where the terminology is a little different.
A little hazy, huh?
Yeah, but I think that you can definitely make great strides in your athleticism. Of course, if you're down here and you're trying to get to the level of Russell Westbrook, good luck. That's never going to happen.
Nope.
But you can make up some great ground. You can gain 6 inches on your vertical.
Yep.
You can improve your sprinting speed. You can improve your lateral speed. You're a big proponent of doing jump rope and dot drills and ladder drills and stuff like that. So that you can develop your athleticism. Of course, again, you have to be realistic about it. You're not going to suddenly jump into this new bracket of like Russell Westbrook or Derrick Rose or guys like that. I mean, those guys. Not only do they work on developing that stuff, they are also born with an incredible level as well.
Exactly.
So I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, you're always going to want to be like that. But back to his question, he was wondering if he should spend more time on working on athleticism or working on developing his skills. Number one, you got to find a balance. But number two, skills are going to probably take you further than anything.
Yep, they really will.
And people spend a lot of time worrying about getting in the weight room and developing their strength and power and stuff like that. And, athleticism to a degree too. But you will get further by developing your skills than anything.
I believe that truly, yeah.
And if you spend, let's say you have 3 hours each day to work on stuff. If you spend 2 hours to 2.5 hours working on your skills and a half hour to an hour working on your athleticism, you're going to get more payoff than if you spend 2 hours working on your athleticism and an hour working on your skills, because the skills are the important part.
Yep.
And it takes many more repetitions to really get that in place. And if you develop your athleticism, that's great. but it's not going to carry you further than what your skills are. If you were trying to level up in basketball, if you don't have the skills, you're not going to go.
That's right. No matter how athletic you might be, you're not going to go as far.
Right. Okay, so let's do another question here. Let's see. This one is from Jason Daly, who says, "Hi there. Any advice on precautionary measures for managing knee pain? I'm unable to train the way I'd like because of this issue." Yeah, if you got knee pain, you got to go see your doctor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and this is, you don't go to your physical therapist. Don't go to some guy that's telling you that he knows what he's talking about. Don't go to two guys on the internet that have a live show right now, because we don't have degrees in that. Your doctor is going to give you the best advice, and it's probably going to involve some kind of rehabbing and recovery, and stay off of it. And we are big supporters of not coming back too soon, or playing injured, because if you do that, you're just going to compound the issue, and it's going to get to a point where you probably have to completely stop and you can't do anything. Yeah. And so if you have knee pain, that's fine. Got to address that. Work on your other skills. Maybe you can work on your ball handling, and maybe you can work on your free throw shooting. I don't know what it is, but you gotta address the knee pain thing. Get to a doctor. Let's see. This one is from Aria K, who says, "How do I get quicker, faster, and more explosive? I can't blow by my defender." Okay, so I mean, we talk about developing athleticism already, but go check out our videos and the vertical jump handbook on developing your vertical, because in that we talk about developing your athleticism, and a lot of that is kind of using a comprehensive approach to build up from, have a strong ground, a foundation to build up from. Whereas a lot of programs don't do that. They kind of just jump in and they have like one aspect that they really address. But use that, and it will help you. And it includes things like jump rope, dot drills, ladder drills, a lot of kind of muscle memory isolations and stuff like that, functional movements. And that is really how you develop that stuff. And also, if you're trying to get by the defender, a lot of that is working on your first step. Get to work on trying to develop that jab step, and really check out our videos that we talk about on stuff like the jab step and the first long 1-and-1 step. We have a ton of hip to hip. We have a ton of videos on offensive moves, and we kind of call it our offensive toolkit. If you go check those out, we have a bunch of tips and quick things that will really help you like right out of the gate. So go check those out. I'm going to let you handle this one, but NP Wizzle says, "Need improvement on shooting range."
Well, usually the problem with young players is that they develop their skill level around that 8 or 10, 12 foot mark, and then they jump right back to shooting a longer 3-point shot. It's what's amazing to me sometimes is that most young people don't really understand or know how far the 3-point line is from the basket. In high school, I believe the college line is the same. It's 19 feet 9 inches. Okay, and so when we go from 12 feet to 19.9 or 20 for a shot like that, we have to make a gradual growth of power, a progression of power to be able to deal with that. And it comes from learning how to use our legs, the mechanics of getting the shot off from the longer distance. And most people who shoot that longer shot tend to shoot it short and flat. And it has to do with mechanics, but it also has to do with power. When we get out to shoot the shot, because we're trying to get more power into it, we snap the wrist down and the shot will flatten out for us. And so that makes it difficult. So what you want to really do is get to our video and see the information on the good arc, the perfect arc. And we tell you there exactly what we think it should be.
Yeah, and you're talking about
it's a developmental thing from one distance to a longer distance.
Well, you're talking about the progression, and we always suggest using the form shooting drill.
Yep.
Start out real close, master that close in shot, and as you master it, then take a step back, and you progressively take a step back every time you master that range.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll get back to 20 feet or 23 feet, whichever you're trying to get to develop your range, and you will have done it in a way to where your mechanics don't break down.
Right.
Because if you're trying to shoot that 5-foot shot and you've got down the mechanics and everything, and then you step back to 20 feet, your mechanics are not going to be there because you're not going to have the muscle innervation. You're not going to have the mechanics kind of in place so that you are using the right power source and still getting kind of the refined target accuracy from your upper body. So you need to progressively work back, and people don't want to do that. They just want to go from those short shots and then go back to the deep shots, and that's the worst way to do it.
Yep,
You'll just be heaving it. Let's see here. Alex Ruiz and a few other people keep asking, is AAU the only way to get recruited, or can you just ball out of high school? We already answered that. Go check out our answer just a few minutes ago. Let's see. Yusuf Fidan says, just wanted to thank you guys for taking your time and answering our questions. Of course, we love doing that.
Enjoy it.
Okay, here's a question from God, who's asking, any drills that can better my finishing around the rim?
Well, if you go to our videos, we have a video that's the title of Finishing at the Rim.
Finishes at the rim.
And so what we teach you there is how to address defenders that challenge you at the basket, and you're able to get around them, by them, through them, to finish at the rim. And so many people never really think about how to do that. They get in there and they cast up really ridiculous shots that are never going to have a chance to go in. One of the things that we also teach is that we work on the every player that comes for lessons has to learn how and daily use the Mikan drill. And the Mikan drill is how bigs learn how to finish around the basket with their right and left hand without having to drop a dribble. And so
it's about footwork and finishing.
Exactly. It's about finishing with their right hand, finishing with their left hand, and the footwork to make that all possible without having to dribble the basketball.
Yeah, we have videos on all that stuff. So Go check out our video on the Mikan drill, and go check out the video Finishes at the Rim.
Really.
And the thing about it is that you want to have options when you're anywhere on the basketball court. You don't want to just pigeonhole yourself and think, okay, all I can do is do this layup. Because a lot of times there's going to be somebody there challenging you, or something's going to happen, and you want to be able to have some options, and you want to be able to also do something that keeps you in control of the situation. So if you get down there, you can jump stop and pump fake and get that guy in the air and then put the ball in, or you can go under the basket and do a reverse layup, or jump stop and do an up and under, or whatever it is. You need to have a few tools that you can use so that you are in control. When the defense is in control and can make you do things that you don't want to do, that's where you are in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's true with anything on the basketball court. And that's, even if you're on defense, you want to be in control. Okay, this one is from Jerice Hoffman, who says, how do you get your form better?
Well, form, figure you're talking about shooting form. That's through practice and making sure that you're very astute. One of the things that we don't think about too often is that we are usually, as players, we establish the muscle memory for a particular stroke. Good, bad, or indifferent. We don't really know oftentimes. And so if you want a really good stroke, what you want to do is to break down the existing muscle memory and replace it with muscle memory that is going to give you a better result. And if you go to our videos and take a look at how we teach shooting, you'll find that you'll be able to do that relatively easy. In fact, we figure that if we get a new student, and this is us doing the teaching, is that we can get them to the point where they can probably shoot reasonably well in about 3 to 4 weeks. But it all has to do with breaking down old habits and reestablishing newer habits that are going to be more efficient.
And some people might think that that's a long time and they want it to happen right away. But the fact of the matter is that you have to make it so that the muscle memory is there and that you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
And that takes repetitions and consistency. And you might want it to happen tomorrow, but that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And you might spend 5 hours in a day working on it, and you think that you've got it down. If you come back 3 days later, it's not going to be there. It's almost assuredly not going to be there. But if you spent 2 hours or an hour over those 3 days, it will be there on that fourth day.
Right.
And if you have spent the time And what you're talking about is getting these foundational elements that are essential to having that form down.
Right.
Then you will be in a good place. And that's why we always tell people, don't emulate other shooters. Don't look at, fill in the blank NBA player and try to emulate them specifically, because all of those guys have different bodies. They have different ergonomics, different biomechanics, and they have taken foundational elements and applied that to themselves and then evolved their shooting form out of that. So, they are essentially doing the same types of things, but, it's going to be different for each person's body.
Right.
And so that's what we tell you guys. Take these foundational elements, and it's going to be, here's how you stand, here's how you use your legs, here's how you get to the set point, here's how you elevate, here's how you release the ball, here's how you finish with the flop finish.
Right.
And those are all things that are true throughout basketball or throughout basketball shooting. And so we try to tell that to you guys, to take these foundational elements, and we give you the reasoning behind why they are the best way to use those. Apply that to yourself, and then you'll start to see that you're going to make your tweaks with your body so it makes it feel right, and you're going to get it into the point where you are actually being accurate with it.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to do. And so getting your form better is taking that foundation and then applying it and getting all the repetitions and doing the 3 pillars of practice that we talk about all the time, and that will help you. So that was the long answer to that question. Let's see. There was one up here I wanted to see. I can't find it. Smelly Q is asking, my team is always focused on our rank within the state. Is that okay, or should they not focus on that as much? Who cares what your rank is?
Yeah. Those are rankings oftentimes made by people who kind of know a little about that, about basketball, but oftentimes those rankings are kind of hocus pocus. This ranking over here might have Team A ranked on another ranking. Maybe it's number 19, and they're number 1 in this one. And so,
yeah, I mean, it is super subjective.
It is subjective.
And here's the thing, like, what does it matter?
Does it make you better?
Are you guys being successful? Are you winning? Are you it's one of those things where, we used to play against guys, in middle school and high school that were telling us what player rank they were in California, like it mattered. And then we'd obliterate their team by 30 points. I was like, well, it's great that you're the number 8 player in California, but we just beat you by 30 points. So what does it matter?
Yeah, what does it matter? That's the key point.
Yeah.
What does it matter?
So
it's all just about ego and talking point. That's all it is.
It might matter near the end of the year when they're starting to do placement for tournaments and stuff like that. But I mean, you shouldn't really be worrying about that. You should be worrying about winning and being successful. If you're looking at some like extraneous thing like that, then it's like you probably will lose focus, and that's when you end up getting beat by the team that hasn't won a game all year. Vigas Sivasoti says, how do I improve my floater? Well, you can go look at our video where we talk about the floater, and after you get those foundational elements down again, then you have to get the repetitions, and then using the 3 pillars of practice, get the repetitions of yourself dialing it in, then get the game speed, game intensity, where you're going at the speed and intensity of a game, practicing that, maybe add in a defender, and just kind of set the stage for what it looks like and feels like to be in a game. And then the 3rd pillar is getting the experience, and you just have to do that with every aspect of basketball, and you will be in a good place. The Penguin Master says, you are amazing. Thank you. Let's see here. Edward, you're slipping away. Edward Batilica says, how players improve themselves so fast and why it doesn't work for me with the same drills. Well, that's hard. We can't tell you specifically why something isn't necessarily working for you, because we're not there to see you do it. I think a lot of times people see other people succeeding, or they think that they're not maybe progressing as fast as somebody else, but you might be being super critical of yourself as well. And the other thing too is that you have to make sure that you are doing these drills and working on your development in a purposeful, diligent way. Because a lot of people, they'll go out there and, maybe a coach will say, go shoot around or whatever. And the kid, the kid or players or whoever it is, and you see this all the way up and down from the highest to the lowest levels, is they'll go out there and they'll start shooting fadeaways and they'll start shooting half-court shots or just pure three-pointers when that's not part of their game. And it's just a very casual approach. But then you'll watch the players that are these great players, or the ones that continually level up in basketball. And, in terms of like known quantities that you guys would know, we'll say like Kobe Bryant or Steph Curry or Ray Allen, these guys that they always are consistent and stand out and are head and shoulders above people in terms of skills. And it's all because of their approach to practice and how they work. And they are being diligent, they're being mindful and purposeful with everything they do. Everything they do has a purpose. You might see Steph Curry shoot his trick shot from, the tunnel, but I can guarantee you he spent 4 hours that day working on his shooting and working on his dribble attacks and working on his free throws. And most players that don't get it or don't progress, they aren't doing those types of things, right?
I would agree with that. Yeah.
So you have to, approach your practice maybe in a different way, and you might find that you will start improving. And if you're still having problems, let us know, and we'll try to figure something out. Henrique Miranda says, how do I play with the same confidence in a game as I do in practice? We kind of talked about this before, but if you don't have confidence in your skills, then you won't have confidence in your execution of those skills. And so that's where your confidence really comes into play. But also, it comes down to getting the game speed, game intensity practice.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. Those 3 pillars of practice we just really believe in are the basis for you improving yourself to become a better basketball player. And what happens too much is that I think, like Casey mentioned a while ago, players are very casual sometimes when they go work out, when in reality there needs to be some higher level of
dedication, commitment.
Execution, and that sort of thing, so that you develop these skills so that they're usable at a game speed. And oftentimes we don't do that. We go shoot around with the boys. We just take and shoot free throws. And what we really need to do is get into that place where you've learned and now you've practiced game speed, and now we're going to go to the game and we're going to kick your butt. And that's really the learning process that we really believe in, is that you get better with this by getting it right, then getting it game speed, and then getting in the game and execution.
Yeah, I mean, in practice, the stakes are not what they are in a game.
Yeah.
So you have to when you're in practice, you have to have at least some element of your practice or aspect of your practice or time period in your practice where you are creating the conditions that you will see in a game.
Yeah.
And that's where the game speed, game intensity comes in. Add in that defender. Suddenly things become much more serious and the stakes are higher. And that's really what you have to start to do. Because then when you step out on the floor in the games that count, then you'll be prepared for that. Okay, so our buddy God is asking, any advantages for shorter players, 5'10" and under? Yeah, okay, we've talked about this before too. And that is that every player... every attribute has their advantages, and there's also inherent disadvantages. For smaller players or shorter players, they are typically going to be quicker, faster, more agile. They're going to be able to go places that probably the big guys can't go. They also have the ability to kind of exploit what the taller players think about the shorter players. So a lot of times these shorter guys, they'll penetrate and they'll get into the paint or something like that, and they can give a shot fake to those bigger guys, and those bigger guys are looking at that guy like, oh my gosh, fresh meat. As soon as he goes up, I'm just gonna block this right back in his face, and so they're gonna jump at the first sign of that guy shooting. Right. So you give him a pump fake and that guy goes right up in the air. Then you can go and finish right past them, and it's literally, you have just totally blasted their ego, because that is the worst thing that can happen to them, is to get beat by the little guy. So, look at the positive aspects. Of course, it's going to be harder for you to shoot over the 6'10" guy, but you're also going to be probably quicker than that guy.
Yes,
you're going to be more agile than that guy, and so use that to your advantage. Don't worry about the things that hold you back. Kind of focus on the things that are your attributes, that are positive attributes. This one is from, let's see, Gafar Plays, who says, how do I tell the coach to let me be a point guard instead of a post?
You can tell them whatever you want, but most coaches are going to make those decisions based upon what they think you're capable of doing and the greatest good for your team. Just because you think you're a great point guard does not necessarily guarantee that you are. The coach is going to make that determination, and usually they're not far wrong. Coaches typically have more experience than players, and
they're going to have a game plan.
Well, and the game plan may not improve or may not have you playing at the spot where you think you should be.
If everybody got what they wanted on a team, it would be chaos.
It would. It'd be all point guards.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing that we always talk about, and that's the fact that you want to be a basketball player, all-around versatile basketball player, before you start applying these positions to yourself, because that's what the coach is going to do. That's kind of part of their job, is giving you these assignments. And so you have to kind of be okay with that. And if you want to play kind of the position that you want to play, it's better to really be versatile, because then you can step in and kind of be able to play there. Right. And so many people get worried about, I want to be this and not that, but it's like, you got to figure out where you fit in on the team too. Yeah. Let's see here. And here's the other thing too. If you go talk to your coach, you can't tell them to do anything. You can say, hey coach, do you think there's a chance that maybe I could try out playing the point guard for a little while? Or is there any way that maybe I could work on something that would maybe make me be able to play there or something like that? But you can't go in there and say, hey coach, I'm a point guard. What are you doing? Because that's kind of challenging them, and that's not what you want to do. You can have an honest discussion with them, but you have to not act entitled.
Right.
Okay, this one is from Vigash Sivasothi again, who says, is street ball bad for you? No, not necessarily. I mean, I think that if you go and you talk to most guys that are successful, including us and anybody, most of them played street ball at some point. There's a difference between like maybe and one and like entertainment street ball, but even those guys, they have these very defined, strong foundational elements that they have worked from, and they have just taken that to another level where they have become entertainers. So if you talk to somebody like the Professor, if you talk to the Harlem Globetrotters or whoever it is, that these people that are entertainment basketball based, they played competitive basketball. They still started, developing their skills the same way everybody else did. A lot of them played Division I basketball or played in the NBA or the WNBA. I mean, they are competitive, skilled basketball players. But the thing is that you have to realize that there are execution differences between those two types of basketball,
and officiating differences as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, entertainment basketball is different. It's about showing off and the entertainment aspect of it, whereas competitive basketball is about getting the basket or getting the ball in the basket.
Yep.
If you can't do that, then you're not going to be there. And if you are doing all this showy stuff in the competitive realm, you're not going to be playing very long. Lucas Maines is asking, do I have a disadvantage from being lefty? No. When shooting? No, I mean,
there's some great left-handed shooters.
Yeah.
And isn't what's the guy that played for the Warriors as a coach now for one of the teams? I think he was a great left-hand from St. John's. He's actually coaching St. John's now.
Chris Mullen?
Chris Mullen. He's a lefty.
Was he? I don't know. If
yeah,
he was
he's a lefty.
But anyways, I mean, it's again another excuse is worrying about whether you're left-handed or right-handed. It is literally just the mirror image, and it's the same thing. Sometimes people talk about, oh well, the guy that's going to be defending me, his dominant hand is going to be able to reach up to where my shooting starts from because I'm left-handed and that aligns with his right arm. But it's like, if he's that close to make that kind of influence where it's a few inches or something, that's not a good shot.
No.
So yeah, you need to not worry about that. Just worry about getting your offensive toolkit really where it needs to be so that you know how to create space.
One of the biggest problems that I see all the time is the fact that people take really bad shots.
Yeah.
Even after they've been coached up and told, hey, don't shoot this one, or in these conditions, don't shoot it. And they turn right around and do it. And so the important thing is, as a basketball player, and we talk about this all the time with our players, is you need to understand what it is to mean that you are open for the shot. And if you can't figure that out, then you shouldn't be shooting at all. Because a bad shot like that is just giving it to the other team. And you don't want to do that.
Yeah. Like if you're rushing your shot, or if the guy is
You're
close
forcing
enough
it
to block you or whatever, those are not good shots. So check out our video on what's a good shot.
Yeah, one of the things that we talk about with our people too is that we never want to take a shot early in the clock, particularly when we are outnumbered in the forecourt by the other team. In other words, if I get a fast break and I come down and I've got 3 or 4 people in front of me and I stop quickly and yak up a 25-footer, that person probably be on the bench almost before the ball gets to the basket, because that is not a good shot at all. What they want to do is you come down, if they've got numbers, you back off and you get your team together and execute your offense.
Yeah.
If it's a one-on-one, that's a little different situation.
I mean, if you watch teams like the Warriors or the Spurs, you will see a team that takes really good shots.
Yeah.
And none of those guys are taking these super contested shots where, they got a guy down their throat. It's like they're making the extra pass. The ball has been reversed several times. There's a lot of ball movement and personnel movement, and they're waiting for their opportunity for that open shot. And that's really what you want too.
Right.
Okay, let's lightning round this real quick, and we'll get as many.
Time is going by fast today.
Yeah, we'll get as many through here as we can. This one is from Peyton Taylor, who says, "How to keep your guide hand from shooting with the ball." Quick thoughts on that?
Okay, get it off the ball before the ball is released.
Yeah, it should fall away.
Yeah. If you watch really great shooters, no matter who they happen to be, at whatever level happen to be, is that you'll find that the offhand, or we call it the assist hand, you can call it the guide hand if you want, that hand falls away as we are ready to release the ball, and the shot becomes a one-handed shot.
Yeah, go watch our video on assist hand, not guide hand, right?
Yeah.
On the assist hand.
Yeah.
And we tell you all about that stuff. And, a lot of it too is working with that form shooting drill and getting the ball in that one hand, and you don't even have to use this assist hand until you've really dialed it in with your shooting arm.
Exactly.
Let's see. This one is from SR Pranks, who says, "Why is there so much politics in building a high school basketball team instead of skill and heart?" That's usually comes down to like ego and stuff like that, and it's just unfortunate. Not much you can do about it, really.
No, it kind of falls back on your coach and the administration of the school.
Smelly Q says, "One more thing before I leave. I've been watching your videos for a long time. I've made it to my senior year, so I want to say thank you."
Well,
awesome.
That's great to hear, Smelly.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's answer this one from Sean Kennedy. He says, "Hi, I'm on a team where I've played in the post or forward, and just recently my coach has moved me to more of a wing. Any tips on what I should work on to get a bit of a basis for the wing?"
Well, one of the things that you need to understand is that there are different skill packages for people who play with their back to the basket and those who play facing the basket. If you're facing the basket, you want to be able to potentially break the defender down and beat them to the basket off the dribble. You also want to be able to face up and shoot the basketball when you have an open shot. That's a little different than if you're playing your back to the basket. There, you have to have those same thought processes, but it's a different situation.
Yeah, here's the thing, though, is that you want to not focus on any one solid particular skill just because you're going to be playing this position. Yeah. You want to be an all-around great, versatile player. You should be able to it doesn't matter if you're playing the wing or if you're playing the post or if you're playing the point guard. You should be able to go into the post, have some post moves.
Sure.
You should be able to go on the perimeter, have a shot, have a dribble attacks. You should be able to make free throws. You should be able to play defense. You should be able to rebound. You got to do all those things because that's going to make you a better basketball player. And it doesn't matter where you play, that's going to make you better. If you're a wing player and you can step into the post and take, your defender down to the post and get some post move on him, then that's great.
Yeah.
So really work on your all-around game, and that's what we keep telling everybody. Okay, this one is from Jovan Stankovic, who says, I'm 15, 6'2". Should I focus on playing point guard, shooting guard, or small forward, power forward?
Our classic answer to this, particularly for this age, is this: become a really good basketball player
all around.
Yeah, and don't be too much concerned at this age
with positions.
What position you ought to play. When it comes right down to it, the development of your game is going to determine by the coach where you're going to play. Okay, and so first of all, learn to be a really good basketball player who can play in all those spots. That's kind of what Casey was alluding to just a moment ago.
Yeah, one of the greatest ways to get yourself into a position where you're not playing or you don't make a team or whatever is to focus on one position. And you tell yourself, I'm a shooting guard. And that's all you focus on, and you don't have any other skills. Well, you might be trying out for a team that already has 2 or 3 shooting guards ahead of you, and well, if you had worked on your game, maybe you could have been a point guard, or maybe you could have been the small forward, or whatever it is. But don't focus on that stuff. We keep telling everybody, stop focusing on it. That's not what you should be doing.
Be the all-around player.
Yeah. It will only help you, right? Yeah. Let's see. This one is, you guys keep adding on these little qualifiers on the end of all these questions where you say, as a point guard or as a post player or as a whatever. Drop all that. That is not important. Just because you're playing point guard doesn't change the way that you play defense or the way that you change, because your coach is going to have different assignments for you.
Yep.
You might be playing, you might be the point guard on offense, but you might be playing against their shooting guard or their small forward or whatever on defense, or you might be playing in a zone, or you might be playing whatever. The fact of the matter is that you need to have an approach where you are a versatile player that can play all these positions. And when it comes to defense, you have to be able to play defense on every part of the floor. If let's say you're playing somebody on the perimeter, that's different than the way you play them in the post, but it doesn't change because of the positions you play.
No, it doesn't. In fact, I see this one quote right here. How do you play defense as guard? You play just like if you were playing on the wing with any other player that is facing the basket. Post play is a little different than those players facing the basket.
Okay, this one is from Peyton Taylor, who says, how to turn while shooting. Okay, here's the thing, is that you don't want to be doing any extra movements while you're going up into your shooting mechanics. That slight stagger that you should have when you go up into your shot, where you're emphasizing your shooting side, that should already be in place before you start going up.
Yeah.
Like your feet should already have been there. Your body should already be in that position. Because if you're turning as you're going up into your shot and you've already jumped and you're turning, that is adding in a variable where things can go very wrong. And it's also harder to dial in your accuracy when you're trying to account for the fact that you're still moving. That's like if you're trying to hit a target and you're still moving, that's going to make it more difficult. So you don't want to do that. You want to have that already set. That should already be there. Okay, well, here's one that I was figuring was going to happen, but this is from Armando Ortiz, who says, I've heard from NBA analysts that maybe the reason some big men struggle with free throws is because of big hands and a lack of touch. You have any thoughts on this? Yeah, it's bogus. The fact of the matter is that those guys, they simply, A, haven't put in the time, and B, their mechanics are just garbage.
Yeah.
And you look at somebody like Dirk Nowitzki, or you look at somebody like who are some great, Kevin Durant, or Anthony Davis, or these guys that are 7 foot tall guys, and they have just as big a hands as any of those guys, and they are making their free throws.
Yeah.
And this was a big thing about Shaq being in a bad free throw shooter, and that he was just bad because he didn't have the touch, or he didn't his hands were too big. If you look at pictures of Shaq shooting his free throws, or from video, you'll see that he has his hands like this, where he has the ball up on his fingertips, and he has no control of the basketball doing that.
Just kind of launches it.
And his mechanics from there only get worse.
Yeah.
And, you know, if he had the ball down like this and he had actually worked on having some good solid mechanics and was consistent with his work on that, he would get much better at it. And, you know, one of the recent ones that we've heard a lot about, obviously, and you have too, is Dwight Howard and how he is just a terrible free throw shooter, fill in the blank, blah, blah, blah. Well, our friend Drew Hanlon has been working with him the last few months, and he has really made some great improvements with Dwight Howard on his free throw shooting specifically. And you can see that. The other day, I think he was like, you know, he'd only missed 3 of 15 or something like that. And, you know, a few years ago, he would have missed at least 10 of those.
Yeah, there's no excuse for poor free throw shooting.
And it comes down to working on it, getting the mechanics, and not making the excuse of my hands are too big or whatever. Shaq's hands were big enough that he would have the most control over the basketball.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I think that's going to do it for us today, you guys. Thanks so much for all your questions. If we didn't get to you, it's not because we don't like you. It's just because we just ran out of time. There's always a ton of questions, and we appreciate that. Make sure you're following us on all of our stuff, where we are Shot Science on everything. We're on Instagram, we're on Snapchat, Facebook, Google+, Twitter. And if you have questions for us that you want answered or you want to talk to us, those are the places to find us. Yeah. We're always doing something different on all those different things that we think is interesting for you guys and will help you. So check that out. And we will hopefully be back next week for another Sunday show at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Please go tell your friends and family to check us out. And we'll see you later. All right.
Goodbye, guys.
See ya.